What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Captain Cody Davis hanging out with you guys once again for another one here. And got a video for you guys today that most of you that are subscribed to my channel are probably not going to be really into, because most of you already are probably super familiar with this bait and technique we're going to be talking about. But I've had a lot of people reaching out to me, and I've had a lot of comments in the comment section asking me, when all of us are talking about fishing down here in South Florida, what the hell does everyone mean when they call a bait a Big Easy? And I feel like people think that it's a bait that we have a nickname for, or it's an old lure that we've nicknamed the Big Easy, but it's not. What it is it's a, well, got it right here. It's a 5 1/4 inch swim bait made down here by a local company called Gambler Lures. You guys have probably seen them before, maybe you haven't. They're made down here in Pompano Beach, Florida. But it's a 5 1/4 inch swim bait, like seen right here. I've got it rigged up on a 7/0 belly weighted swim bait hook. And man, without a doubt, probably one of the most popular baits for not only just fishing and catching fish, but one of the most popular baits for catching big fish down here. And also probably one of the most fun ways to catch a big Florida bass is on this guy right here, for a few reasons. One, well, first of all, let's kind of talk about it. What makes it special? So although that this thing is just a swim bait, right, where you would traditionally throw it out, let it sink down, and just slowly turn the handle and let it boot tail and that boot tail kick and swim back to the boat, although that is effective and that does catch fish in that presentation with this bait, one of the most popular ways to fish this bait is to make an extremely long cast, okay, across a grass bed, whether it's Kissimmee grass, a field of needle grass, dollar pads, what have you. Hold your rod tip at 11:30, 12 o'clock straight up in the air and buzz this bait across the top of the water. Essentially what you're trying to make it look like is almost like a weedless whopper plopper. And the reason I say that is because that boot tail, just the design of this bait, how, you know, the way it's laid out and the way that tail hits the water, the gurgle sound that you get from this thing coming across the top of the water is awesome, and the fish can't stand it, especially the big ones. You know, that's what's crazy. You know, this bait has a big drawing power, especially in clean water. You could call fish in from, you know, a pretty good distance away. A lot of you guys that have fished with me on Okeechobee have seen the case where we're fishing a backwater slough and you're buzzing this thing across and you see a headway coming from literally 40 to 50 feet away coming to chase this bait down. And I think it's because it has a big drawing power due to that noise. And I just really think it's a bait that those fish just don't want around them, especially when they're spawning. So, you know, it's a super versatile bait, and it's super efficient and effective, so you're not getting hung in the grass. You could throw it anywhere you want. It's basically 4-wheel drive. It's totally weedless, and you're not wasting your time getting hung up and trying to switch baits and switch rods to present a bait in different areas down here. They make this thing in 100 different colors, so you can match it to whatever whatever you have confidence in. Got cars coming by, sorry about that. But yeah, great way to catch them. And like I said, it's one of the most fun ways to catch a big bass, because it's very visual. A lot of the times you get to see him come up and just demolish this thing on top. And I get a lot of customers that fly down from all over the country just to come fish this bait. Now, with that being said, it's a South Florida staple. When this bait came out, it kind of took the state by storm, and this was, if you weren't throwing this, you were fishing for second place. But don't get that confused with, I watch everything in bass fishing. I watch the Elite Series tournaments. I watch the Bass Pro Tour. There are a lot of pros that fish this bait all throughout the country that don't really talk about it and have great success using it on their home lakes, not just down here in South Florida. Top of that, I get a lot of people that come down to fish with me, bring these baits back home to their home states and go fish the banks, maybe where everyone's typically fishing deep. Skip this thing under pontoon boats, you name it, gurgle it out, and they have great success with it and send me pictures. But something else I was going to show you guys is a couple different ways you could rig this. This is the standard. It's a 7/0 you know, swim bait hook with a belly weight, like I said. And one of the reasons I really like this is because of how versatile it is. There are cases obviously where I use this bait the way it's supposed to be used, where I swim it subsurface, if I'm around brim beds, maybe if I'm in some cleaner water, or if I'm throwing it on fluorocarbon, what have you. But that weight is light enough to where if I need to slow roll it and just steadily swim it through the water column, that the bait will swim true. Okay, that little 1/8 ounce weight holds the chin of that bait down, and it'll swim true and not want to roll from side to side. But it's light enough to where if I want to make a cast with it and fish it the way like I was just talking about, I have no problem keeping that bait up on top of the water. It's not bogging the bait down at all, okay? And I could buzz it across the top. I actually just had one wake it there in the pond. So that's probably the most popular way, and that's the way I rig it 99% of the time. Again, it's on a 7/0. This is actually called a Gambler Big Easy hook. They made a hook specifically for this bait. And then I always throw it on the same setup no matter how I'm rigging it. 65-pound braid, sometimes 50, but usually 65-pound braid on a 7/6 heavy action rod. I like a longer rod for the long cast. I could pick up more line on the hook set, and I like a 7-to-1. Now, if you get tired easily from reeling, a lot of guys throw it on an 8 or a 9-to-1. This way it doesn't wear you out. You don't have to reel as fast. But I just like it on the 7-to-1 because I have a little bit more power once I do hook that fish to get them out of the vegetation. Biggest thing with this bait, when you are fishing it on top, you have to be patient. When he eats it, don't set the hook. You could drop the rod to him, let him get it in his crunchers, turn his head around, start swimming. He's not going to spit the bait out. Okay, well, that's the biggest problem people have with this bait, is they prematurely set the hook. Let him take it. I promise you he will not spit it out. If he does, your next guide trip's on me. All right. Another cool way you could rig this bait is, my cats were just down here messing with this and just broke this, but I've got one rigged up here. This is another Big Easy with a 7/0 EWG style hook, not a screw lock, just a regular EWG. And Gambler makes this really cool nose cone for this bait. All right, make sure you guys can see that right there. So it's a clear plastic cone with a screw lock. It doesn't weigh anything, but you thread your line through it just like you would a little weight. Okay, put it to the front of the bait. There's a cat about to knock over this camera. Hey, get out. Try to do the right thing and rescue kittens, and they're a pain in my ass. And you screw that into the nose of the bait. And the reason for that is, if you guys notice, the Big Easy does have a square, more of a flat face. That's to be able to hold that screw lock very well in there. But that'll kind of tend to catch on grass a lot of the time. So whether it's pads or Kissimmee grass, and it'll kind of bog into the grass and sometimes get you hung up. So you could use that, and it just helps it snake through the grass much easier. This is a very, very, very popular way to rig this bait, especially when you know that the bite or the way they've been wanting it, or you're fishing in really thick stuff, is just buzzing the bait. You don't really need to swim it subsurface. With that being said, you still can do that with this rig, but then you're just, if you don't rig it absolutely perfect, you're gonna have, the bait's gonna want to have the tendency to kind of roll from side to side or even spin sometimes. But with that being said, you still can get away just swimming this thing subsurface also. So that's how most people rig it out here on Okeechobee. And then another really cool way you could do it is, everyone knows a swim jig is a very big staple down here as well. Catches a lot of big fish, but sometimes we're fishing in a really sloppy area. And what I mean by that is, we might be around a lot of moss or muck or dying vegetation. And maybe you're not getting hung with that swim jig, but that open hook, every time you bring it back, you've got all kinds of moss or gunk or duckweed or what have you on the open hook. And then you're not fishing it efficiently or effectively because you're just dragging in all kinds of junk. So what we do is, we call this, I think Jimmy McMillan named this the Bud Light rig, before Bud Light got canceled or whatever happened. But basically you're making a weedless swim jig. So I've got a 7/0 EWG style hook. I've got it Texas rigged on there with the Big Easy. You slide up, well, let's start on this side. Put a bobber stop, okay? Most of you already know about this. We got a 1/4 ounce weight or an 1/8 ounce weight, tungsten. Slide that on, and then we use a punch skirt, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with flipping. But you slide that onto your line, and then you tie on that hook right there, and you slide all this down, and now you've got a weedless, totally weedless, more streamlined swim jig. You don't have that big weed guard on there. Now you don't have an exposed hook, so you're gonna have to let the fish more or less eat the bait a little more, but you can kind of swim this subsurface or just kind of drag it across the top. Gives you a bigger profile, okay? And very, very, very effective way to catch them, and it's caught a ton of really big fish out here. And then what's cool is you can mix match your color combinations from your punch skirt to your bait, and try to really mimic in the, you know, whatever kind of type of panfish or bluegill you're trying to imitate, whether it's out here or on your home lake. But that's it. So just thought I'd give you guys those tips and those techniques. Come here, bud. My son's gonna come crash this video. Come here, Bass. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any questions on this technique. Give this bait a try. I'm sure there's probably at least some of you that are watching this that don't live in Florida. Don't be afraid to throw this bait. What's cool about it, which I don't have here, is that this is the Big Easy. It's a 5 1/4 inch bait. They make this same style bait, exact same deal, from a 3 inch all the way up to an 8 inch. The Big Easy was first, so it's kind of the standard, but you can find a bait and a size and color that you need to match the forage on your home lake. So definitely check it out. Last but not least, this Friday, so Saturday, February 3rd, I'm going to be at Mike Krause's Okeechobee Fishing Headquarters on the north end of Lake Okeechobee from 9 to 3. He's having his Customer Appreciation Day. I don't remember all the deals and sales he's got going on. I know the whole store is 20% off, and then he's got all kinds of deals on arc rods and batteries, and there's going to be a bunch of reps and all kinds of stuff there. So come by and hang out. I believe he's going to have food. He's going to have food. Breezy says he thinks so, which means he's going to have food now. And yeah, we'll be hanging out. So you guys can come by and hang out, buy baits. I don't think anyone's got a bigger gambler selection than Mike. He's got a whole back wall of baits, so you can definitely check out all the Big Easy colors you need there. So I'm gonna go get this rod for my son before he breaks it in my lawn chair, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. Did you break it? You got a fishing pole?